You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Red Moon Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And, he's kind of got an angry look this week.
I am angry.
Why are you mad? Wait, are you going to push the button?
It's not, you don't have it, it's not ready. Look at it.
It's ready.
There's nothing there.
I
See?
didn't. Hold on, I got to power it.
You didn't put power to it.
I didn't
can't
put
push
power
the
to
Fixed
it.
button.
blinds, by the way. I just wanted to let you know.
You fixed my
Thank
blinds?
you for fixing the
They
blinds.
They go up now.
They do go.
Can I be
What was
angry
the
now?
problem?
There was something up at the top there. Hung
Oh,
up.
it was like a little, like a
string or
switch
something.
Huh.
Oh, a string.
Yeah.
Can I
It's
be
supposed
angry
to
now,
be
Brandon?
cordless.
Go
Hold
ahead.
on. I gotta fix it. See, I'm plugging it in.
Oh my goodness! I just wanted
Boom.
to. I just.
It may take it a second to boot up.
Well, let me tell you why I'm angry first, and then we'll, okay. No, here we go.
Go ahead. That's
Oh.
it's not.
I'm not gonna take this anymore.
You're ruining everything,
Did I-
Brandon. This is
did I-
why I'm angry. You ruined. No. I'm a little upset.
Why?
Not because Aaron was in my spot, but because you all insinuated that she nailed my persona, and she did not. That face was not a perfect.
So the
It
face
was-
you just gave us
it was pretty close.
No, the face I gave you, it was not either.
But the reason she nailed it was because you never know what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
So she could have done any face and it would have nailed
it
you.
wouldn't have.
We start the show all the time, and you're
it's
just like,
exactly.
Yeah,
But that's not nailing it either.
that she did
There's
that.
she did that, but there's a precision to it that she
well, I don't
didn't
have
nail.
glasses, and I have less
She
hair on my
didn't-
face.
she didn't
but-
So
nail
it's
it.
like he didn't. He just did a great
it's
job.
like
of
when
you
someone
too.
does a caricature, and that's what it was.
Oh,
it
so-
wasn't right.
Well, we
There
knew
wasn't-
that.
There wasn't the nuance.
Just because
there.
she nailed you
No.
doesn't. Well,
didn't have a
whoa.
nuance.
I didn't mean she nailed you.
Okay.
Oh,
No, just
she's
because
watching, by the way.
she nailed your impression or nailed an impression of you does not mean she is you.
I didn't
Keith,
say that.
there is only
I don't
one
think
you,
she nailed the
okay?
impression either. She was too
Wow.
over the top.
Too critical.
It
of
wasn't.
yourself.
Yeah. No. Of myself. Of her.
Of yourself, of her being yourself.
She wasn't. She didn't
I
get
don't
it.
know.
She wasn't aloof enough with it.
oh well.
You have to.
That's
It's
a-
whimsical. She didn't
I've
have
never
the
heard
whimsy.
that word, but I like it.
Aloof?
Aloof. Yeah. She wasn't whimsical.
It makes me
enough.
think of what's that
It has to have
thing
a
you
whimsy.
wash
Loofah.
yourself in a
Loofah.
loofah. Yeah, it makes me
That-
think of that.
Aloofa.
See, I messed up earlier because we were talking about something, and I said, was thinking like,
Lush.
kind of a bigger, like a thicker, bigger-breasted woman, and I'm just like, yeah,
Voluptuous.
She was a lush, and he's like, she was a drunkard, and I'm like, no, she's like luscious.
Yeah, Brian looked
Like-
at him too. He's like, "Yeah, lush is usually a
thinking
term for
luscious.
like a
A
drunk
lush.
person." Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that just kind of meant.
I got curious to see like where like that thought train come from, so I looked it up, and there is a cosmetic line called Lush. So I'm like, I wonder if maybe like I don't know, you've seen that somewhere and thought maybe I don't know.
I don't know.
But apparently, yeah.
I just think voluptuous. Was that the word you were looking for?
No, I was thinking of luscious.
Luscious? Oh, very
Yeah.
luscious. Yeah.
luscious.
Okay, that's a
Yeah.
good word.
Lush.
I
don't know.
like that. Lush, I guess. I didn't never heard of that as
Yeah,
being
yeah.
drunk.
yeah. He's
I
a
haven't
lush
either.
drunk.
Sloshed or I don't know. Hammered.
Pissed. He's
Yeah.
get pissed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get, well,
we
we could
the
use a more
British term.
derogatory term.
knocked down,
But I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down.
Okay.
all right, all
Good
right.
song.
Got a great show planned, of course.
Do
like
we?
do every week here on the Red
Do we
Moon
have
Podcast.
a good? It feels good to be back.
It
by the
does?
way.
Feels
Thank
good in
you.
this room thanks to air
yes,
conditioning.
It does.
AC.
That's the reason why the blinds were
Mm.
broken. But it does feel good to have you back too.
I always enjoy
Yes.
being here in this seat of mine.
I'm a little upset. I did
Uh,
not get a text message saying that you were going to be working in
I'm
Missouri.
sorry.
I got a text after you were already there.
Well,
'Cause
we
I'm
didn't
like,
get.
hey, you
we-
want to play Destiny? And you're like, I'm in Missouri.
I'm in Missouri. We didn't get a chance. I was going to talk about it before the podcast. We didn't get a chance to talk about it, but I'm actually going to be out of
Confession
town again next
time.
week. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
there you go.
we-
That's-
no.
We discussed a lot
Looks like Aaron's
before
coming
the
back.
podcast, and I was
Just
going to,
kidding.
but then I never got a chance to really put that out
All
there.
right. Well,
so.
Nathan or
And
Jacob,
Jacob.
if you're watching, it's your turn.
Aaron, you've already used your limit, okay? You've been on
She's
too many
exceeded-
times.
Exceeded the limit.
You have.
You've exceeded.
You can't help it now.
We cannot stand her
Exceed.
again.
You
What?
must be this tall to ride, okay? I don't know. I don't know.
I'm
what
out.
else.
The shortest one here.
Oh, Key's short. All right, guys. To move on.
There you go.
That was she couldn't have done that.
She couldn't.
She wouldn't have been able to nail
She
that
doesn't
one.
know.
We do have a great show planned. We got our multimedia segment this week.
Multimedia?
Sean, you brought up the topic.
Yeah,
You
it's a good
suggested
topic.
I
it,
didn't know because
But
you know
it's-
we had multiple topics to go through.
but it was
so-
a good one. I liked
it.
yours.
It was
So we
good.
kept my idea then.
Yeah.
which-
Okay. That's fine.
Describe what is it again?
I'm not telling. It's a secret.
What? No, we gotta tease it for later. So
We'll
people
tease
it
They'll stay tuned
later.
Go now.
in. Yeah, go now.
Okay. So does audio and video quality affect your experience when it comes to watching a movie
Yeah. Yeah.
or your overall enjoyment of the movie?
Some people it does. Some people it doesn't.
yeah, my wife is one that it doesn't.
I know people that.
What are you
yeah.
trying to accuse her
I'm
of?
saying she could watch a movie on an iPhone and I could watch it in 4K and she would say there's no difference.
There's okay. So and it's funny you took that route because I'm thinking like indie versus like big budget. Like was my first thought.
Ooh,
Well,
well,
that's-
we
Which
can
I
go. We
think-
can go
yeah.
there too.
See,
It's not
We can go there too.
necessarily.
I
but
was.
I mean, it's a little
I'm
different.
thinking of like
Yeah,
the,
that's what I was thinking,
The,
like
the
quality.
surround sound
Yeah.
versus stereo and
you know,
4K
when
versus
you obtain
DVD, that kind of
films
stuff.
from means that aren't exactly legal, and it's
Yes.
somebody sat in a theater.
Okay.
and checked-
All right. Well, let's
and
don't.
some people,
True,
yeah,
don't go
yeah,
too
we'll
deep
get
into it.
and
We'll
that,
save
that
it for
bugs the
later.
hell out of me,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
yeah,
But you're
absolutely.
right. That's exactly what our multimedia segment is going to
Yeah,
be about.
yeah.
Can't wait to get to that.
We can go the other way too.
We've-
Before that, though,
Yeah,
we
before
have
that.
an excellent review.
Uh-huh.
Is it excellent?
Yeah,
Is it, Keith?
They're always excellent.
Should
Okay.
we go to that
Every
now?
single one of them.
It better
I don't
be.
know.
We're going to find out
Okay.
right now on the Red Moon Podcast. Here's our review of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Some people believe if we repeat stories often enough, they become real. They make us who we are. That idea is the driving force behind Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, a film based off of a series of children's novels collecting scary short stories to, of course, tell in the dark. Each story is often creepy with an underlying macabre sense of humor and typically contains a twist or lesson to be learned. They are also, of course, approachable by children, thus are creepy but not too scary. The same can be said of this film. So any major horror aficionado expecting to be terrorized will be disappointed. But if you go in knowing the source material and that it's a horror film for all ages, you might just find yourself entertained and even a little spooked nonetheless. Directed by Andre Overdahl, from a screenplay by Guillermo del Toro, who also produced, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark uses a completely original, overarching story to connect several of the short stories from the books. Set in 1968 on Halloween night, Stella, played by Zoe Colletti, and her friends Chuck, Austin Zajur, and Augie, Gabrielle Rush, are outsiders, the kids who are always picked on. But this year they have a plan to get back at the bullies, mainly Tommy Milner, played by Austin Abrams, the head bully. Upon exacting their revenge and meeting a new friend, Ramon, played by Michael Garza, Stella and her friends soon go exploring the old haunted Bellows house, founders of the town they live in. While exploring the home, they come across a book of scary stories written by Sarah Bellows, a reported child murderer who once told scary stories to children before they mysteriously disappeared. Stella takes the book, which soon begins writing new stories involving her friends. Scary stories that one by one claim the ones she loves. Now Stella must uncover the truth behind Sarah Bellows' life in order to stop the stories from claiming her and anyone else. The film isn't exactly a unique work. Many of the themes and plot points used to connect the short stories have been done in plenty of other horror films. But where the movie makes up for it is in its well-crafted characters and the bringing to life of the stories from the original books. Each specter and creature is chilling and haunting and brought to life in a manner only done from a Guillermo del Toro production. Using practical effects with a bit of CGI to enhance the imagery, these figures will terrify younger audiences and unnerve adult audiences as well. The acting is hit or miss coming from the younger stars, but for the most part they do fine, nailing the more humorous aspects of the series, allowing for some great laughs along with the scares. The overall message of the film about how narrative and the stories we tell affect our perception of the world and people around us, however, is a powerful one. And though it's not granted the levity such a theme could really use, it does make you stop and think and offers a decent dose of human interest to what would have been otherwise unconnected tales of horror. All in all, it's a solid movie that should be fun for most ages, and I personally hope to see more entries in the franchise. I give Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark 3 out of 4 stars. That's it!
Wow.
3 out of 4 stars.
How
Yeah,
about
no,
that?
I liked it. It's not the greatest movie ever made, even. But I mean,
I
it's,
haven't seen it yet.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go see it eventually.
No, you
Actually, your
won't.
review.
Don't lie.
I won't. But seriously,
With that
no.
Stubbs A-list. You're gonna go see
It's
it again.
canceled. Sorry, Stubbs. I'll be back
No, yeah, it's
someday.
as someone who grew up reading like Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, like that series of books, and then I mean the images in that book, and then like them bringing the life on screen were perfect. They nailed it. It perfectly captures the creepy atmosphere. Yet it's still obtainable by like younger audiences, because I mean those books are meant for like kind of like the preteen age, and that's definitely. I mean, I definitely think this film would still be too scary for like maybe like your kids.
Yeah,
Like,
but
that's
no,
not-
like your middle school and high school kids
Yeah,
would
yeah.
probably.
and it was well done. I really liked the overarching story they used to connect everything. I thought, even though, like I said in my review, even though like it's kind of a stereotypical type story for like a haunted house ghost story type movie, it still connected everything together well enough that you got the pieces from the actual short stories from the books,
Right.
And the characters were fun to watch. I thought they were well done.
Right.
Acting hit or miss, but I mean for the most part, I thought they did great. It's just there's a few scenes where they kind of cracked, but I mean overall, I mean I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, the kids did have that like Stranger Things-esque, Goonies,
Yeah.
a good group of kids that feed off of each other well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Acting wise, that makes for a good, especially like the funny parts,
Yes.
the comical relief lines and stuff were
The
great.
comedic parts were great.
I mean, I'm not gonna go 3.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna go
Ooh.
2 out of 4.
Oh, wow.
wow.
Okay, I
Wow.
was
Yeah.
expecting.
And
I'm not gonna lie.
I'll explain, and it's probably, I don't know, it's just for me, because when I go see a scary movie, I want to be scared. And the problem that I find with a lot of scary movies and why they don't get a very high score for me, and I was telling one of our friends next door that when the people in the film do the stupidest, most ignorant stuff to escape danger, it breaks the realism for me and makes it just completely just silly, and I don't have any kind of a an attachment to the movie as far as making it scare me.
Yeah.
When the characters do what I'm thinking they should do and they still get caught or found by the creature or the killer with the knife or whatever, that's when it freaks me out.
Yep.
Because that's when I feel vulnerable, like my idea would have got me killed too.
I
Right.
agree with that. I just feel like because of what this, like based off of the short stories and based off of like it being young adult, I feel
Yes.
like that kind of fit the tone. So I
Right,
was okay
right.
with them.
I didn't get
being
to finish, but that's
Yo,
what I
go
was going to
ahead.
say.
Yeah.
I understand now that it was made for a younger audience. When I saw the trailers and things like that, I thought they were taking this kind of a childhood, but pretty dark childhood storybook, and that they were making it a little bit more
Adult.
adult.
Well, I was gonna say, truth be
And-
told, I actually, it was based on the trailers. Guillermo del Toro being attached to it.
Yeah.
The fact that I knew the drawings and the artwork from the original book in general.
Those are creepy.
We're
Yes.
already
Yeah.
creepy
and
enough.
they match them
Right.
perfectly.
And
in
I
the film.
thought just based on that alone, I
But-
truly thought it was going to go that. And then it was weird. I don't know why I didn't know this until this week when it released. I thought it was rated R.
No, it's PG.
And it's PG-13.
Yeah, see,
and
I
so
didn't know that either.
That caught me off guard because when I did hear your all's review, and also another buddy at work, Dylan, went and saw it, he told me the same thing. 2 out of 4 stars is what he gave it. And I was just thinking, I was like, with Guillermo del Toro being attached to it, it did catch me off like that with Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah.
And I know I've heard one
But
thing he
even
said was
Pan's
the
Labyrinth
creature
wasn't.
It wasn't scary,
No,
but it was creepy.
It wasn't rated R.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it
was.
was.
It was.
Yeah,
was
with the
hard R.
violence.
It was
oh
a
yeah.
hard
Really?
R,
Oh
See,
yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. That movie did nothing for me.
Well,
Like,
it
I
wasn't a
don't-
scary movie. It wasn't supposed to be, but it was very
Really?
violent.
I
and
didn't
graphic.
yeah.
Yeah.
catch
But
that.
but that was the weird thing about it was I thought they were going to kind of go that route of we know it's for tweens, but we kind of want to. I don't know. It was like, see, it was funny because right before when we recorded the review, Keith, you brought up a good point of saying how it was better than Goosebumps.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
How Goosebumps
Yeah.
was much more child friendly.
Yeah.
But then again, that made a lot of sense to me because Goosebumps in general are children's books.
They're supposed to be young.
And they're supposed to be
little
kind of
kids.
young and trying to get you into reading, and it also supposed to be a little bit scary or suspense.
But it's like 4th and 5th grade
Right.
level, so yeah.
But these like scary stories, I thought were supposed to be
They were
very
middle school
macabre
level,
and
yeah.
very but could have been done in such a way that it was extremely over the top scary.
They could have, but
to
they
freak
tried
you
to
out.
maintain
Yeah.
the same demographic.
And I guess I'm kind of disappointed in that. I don't
I'm
know.
not.
You're not. You just.
no,
You're
not
glad
at
that
all.
it's faithful
It
to the
sounds
book.
like
Yeah.
though from your review and from the way you've explained though, you kind of I guess you went into it knowing what it was supposed to be,
Yeah.
and what you wanted it to be, and those matched up.
Yeah.
What I thought it was going to be didn't match up with what I
Gotcha.
saw,
Mm.
so I left kind of.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I went in
disappointed.
pretty much. I expected it to be still the scary stories tell in the dark type novels. Like I
Yeah.
was expecting it to be that kind of preteen, like tween age, like demographic, which is
Yeah.
what I got. So I was
I was
satisfied with
hoping
it.
for more of like Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah,
Yes,
that would be cool.
You know,
exactly.
and-
In fact, the weird thing is like watching the movie. What it reminded me of, like I told you a little bit of Goosebumps because I threw the stories
Tales
together,
from
but
the Dark Side. Is what
it reminded
of.
me. It reminded me mostly of Guillermo del Toro's Crimson Peak, like the
Oh.
overarching
Okay,
story arc.
yeah.
Only
Okay.
Crimson Peak definitely is more adult.
Well, I
and
was
this
gonna
Yeah.
say,
is-
yeah, it's not for
So,
teenagers.
no, not at all.
Yeah.
But it's still PG-13,
Yes, it is, but
Yeah.
not. But they do more with that PG-13 than this movie
Yeah.
does,
which
obviously,
irritates me
yeah.
even more.
but
and I haven't
the-
even seen the film yet.
And
so
I
I'm
guess
not
that's also
really
why I
passing
said
huge
like the
judgment.
overarching story is stereotypical because it kind of is. It's because even Crimson Peak was a little stereotypical, but its unique twist was that it was like a gothic love story, not so much a horror story, and I
Yeah.
really loved it for that. Whereas this, they just used that kind of that stereotypical type haunted house type idea to connect the short story. So I was like, even though it's a little stereotypical, what they did with it was unique enough that I
Well,
could
let
give
me
it a
ask you
pass.
this because one question I have then is because of Guillermo del Toro just having the writing producing credit,
Mm-hmm.
do you think it would have been different if he did direct it? Do you think he would have went a different direction?
I think if he had actually directed it himself, it probably would have been darker because
Okay.
it's just Guillermo del Toro
I might
style.
agree, and that may be one of the other things that gave me such high expectations was I saw his name attached to it,
Yes.
and you see the the costume design.
Yeah,
and all
the
that.
creature design
I mean,
is fantastic.
That's 100% Del Toro.
right,
yeah.
but he just did it based on the drawings in the books,
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
So he had something to go off of. He didn't just come up with it himself, and I feel like if he would have had free reign over everything to do with the film, yeah, it may have ended up being a little bit darker, or one of the creatures could have just had sex with the little girl and fell in love, like the Shape of Fish Dick.
Yeah.
I mean, Shape of Water.
Look,
But
he's got one bad movie out of many.
no,
so I'll give him
I
that.
agree.
and it's
I
his
agree.
best picture winner of all
know,
movies.
This
too.
this movie had the only part of the movie that got me was towards the very end, and it was the Mitai walk.
the jangly man.
The
Yeah.
jangly man.
Yeah.
That was the only
He
part
didn't scare me at
that
all.
got me. Well, see, that part got me because everything that I was thinking, if I was that
Yep.
kid and I run this way, I'm getting away.
Yeah.
If I go out the window, if I get in the car and drive, it ain't gonna catch me. But sure as hell enough, it did catch him. And it's just like that kind of stuff scares me
Yeah.
when my idea of how I would deal with it, and they do
Yeah.
that, and they still get caught. That's when it's like, man, that would have got me
That's what
too,
creeped me out
and that's
about-
what creeps me out about it.
See, that's what creeped me out about the red room lady because for one, I thought she looked the creepiest. That
Yeah.
freaks me out. But the fact that that kid did try running everywhere he could and she was always there, that creeped me out because it's like no matter
Yeah,
where
but-
he went,
I mean, he didn't
she
try
was
to run
there.
past her. He didn't try to slide between her legs. She's walking like a turtle speed.
I
And it's
wouldn't
like
try
you
to
coulda
run past-
pushed her down. You
I would
coulda
not
done
have.
something.
I
here's
would
the
not
weird
have
thing.
tried
He
that.
just stood
and
there
I'm
and
about
let
to
it-
go.
I
I'm
would
about
not
to go way
I was
outside the
not
box.
running towards her. I
I'm
would
go-
not have ran towards her.
I'm going to go
at
way
all.
outside the box here because even though I haven't seen the movie, and a
Uh-huh.
lot of our listeners, either whether they haven't seen the movie or have not, played the game I'm about to reference.
Uh-oh.
The thing is what seeing the trailers for this
Yeah.
and knowing Guillermo del Toro was attached to it reminded me a lot of PT or
Yeah.
Silent Hills.
PT.
The game that was never released, but if you
And I
just
wish he
play
would've.
that one
Yeah.
game
Yes.
teaser that will never ever be made, it freaks you out.
It
mainly
is.
because
Yeah.
you're just playing as it. But the creature design in that,
Oh yeah.
and then the fake trailer that they had later on showing you the things they were putting into the game.
yeah.
those things had remnants of what I saw in this movie as well. I mean, that's the thing about Guillermo del Toro is, yes, his creature design is flawless.
Oh, yeah.
But it's always in that spooky manner that, when you're sitting here saying, well, I would have ducked between her legs or run past her.
I wasn't going
I'm
nowhere
sitting
near
here
it.
thinking, the things that I've seen them come up with, and that's the thing, in PT, you're sitting there just walking down a hallway, and this creature's all the way at the other end, and you're like, oh, I'm sad. And then all of a sudden the screen just cuts to black and it's right in front of your face.
Yeah.
And I'm just like.
But see, that's a jump scare.
Right.
And there were 0 jump scares in this movie.
Really?
So there was not even anything.
It was all atmospheric.
It
and
was
creepy.
all, and
See,
like I
now
said,
that's
that
a
just
little
didn't,
disappointing.
It just
It left-
didn't get me, though.
Here's my thing. I don't care for jump scares. I think they're cheap. This I liked better because I felt it was unnerving. Like when I saw her in the hallway, I was like, that's unsettling. I'm not going anywhere near
See,
her.
to me, it's about a slow build-up.
Where
though.
they have two
It's
completely
about a slow
different
build-up.
thought processes on it, because I'm just sitting there thinking, knock her freaking butt down.
Yeah.
Push through her.
She's a ghost.
I get that. I mean, I get it, but try something. Here's the thing that bothered me about that scene. The kid runs. He finally gets to a point where there's a fork in the hallway. He can go right or left. He goes right, tries a locked door, doesn't work. So he runs around, tries the other locked door, doesn't work. You know what was right there on the wall in between the two hallways? A glass window with a fire axe in it.
I didn't.
Grab the fire axe, problem solved.
I didn't even think about that.
I'm just saying, like, that's the stuff that it
that's
gets
true.
me. The first scene, the kid in the cornfield, I'm like, who at 1 o'clock in the morning is what time it was when he got home?
Yeah.
Who walks a mile through a cornfield in pitch black at 1 a.m. with no flashlight
It's
and
true.
to deliver eggs to the neighbor that was supposed to get eggs delivered to him? They're not up to get the eggs. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. So it was just like all
His
of
mom
these.
was trying to prove a point. He
I
didn't
get-
do what he was supposed to. She was
I
going
get
to
it.
make him do it.
She
at
was
1
gonna
o'clock
make
in
him
the
do it,
morning.
but he's got a damn car right there. Get in your car and drive next door and deliver the eggs.
It's
He gets
true.
out of the car and walks through a freaking pitch black
He's
cornfield.
probably
so that
done
the,
it millions of times before.
I know, well, maybe he
At
has.
1 a.m.? I mean,
It's
I'm just
just-
saying.
I'm
I
just
agree.
saying.
I kind of agree. I mean,
Like,
the way you're describing it,
I don't
Sean,
go out
and I've
in my
never seen
backyard
it.
at 1 a.m. and I've got lights on the back. I don't know what's out there. I hear a freaking possum mating in the woods, and I'm done. I'm out. You know what I'm saying? Like,
what does that sound like?
I'm just,
I want to know what it
they
sounds
scream.
like.
It sounds like a human scream.
Is it like a
Google,
Yelp?
YouTube it, everybody. It sounds like
YouTube
a
it?
human scream. But anyway, like I'm just saying, like he was stupid for doing that, and I'm like, the only reason he's doing that is so that the freaking scarecrow can get him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's part. Again, I went into it thinking it was going to be a little bit more grown up and a little bit more adult. Part of a kid's story is the stupid kid walking through the cornfield. But if it was a rated R movie and it was for adults, that probably wouldn't have been in there. It would have been some
and
other
let me
scenario.
ask you this: so, based on the material that it's referencing, the original book,
it fits.
is it? Well, and here's the thing: I haven't seen the movie, but I also haven't read the book. I mean, does it match almost perfectly the stories in the novel?
A lot of it, yes.
Yes.
So if that's the case, I mean, I agree with Sean in the sense that would it have been okay with them to take liberties to update it in such a way that they didn't make the same choices?
It would have been, but I mean, I think because they were aiming for that same demographic, they were fine with. You know, and plus the nostalgia factor is a big thing. I think Guillermo del Toro wanted to
just
stay
bring the
true
book to
to
life
this, like,
and
you
make
know,
sure that it was like
because
detail
we
for
were talking
detail.
about this next order, like me and him and Brad were even talking about how like Brad loves anthology movies and what wished it had just been like the people telling these stories one right after the other rather than like connected
Tales
art.
from the Dark Side or
Yeah.
Cat's Eye or something like that.
But Guillermo del Toro didn't want to do that because he felt anthology films are only as good as your weakest. Like, you know, they're not as good as your best story. They're as weak as your weakest story. So he wanted to connect them all. But I mean, they're still, even though they're all connected, the events that happen to each character are basically
On a new
the
story.
stories
Based on a new story.
Yeah, like the
about-
overarching plot's new, but
Gotcha.
each event that happens to
No.
each character
well,
is
and that kind of just
Yeah.
goes back to what you said
Yeah.
about there. You know, it's not a new way in which this approach has been done before. I mean, we've seen it in other movies where they try to connect smaller short stories with one overarching story, which is fine. I don't mind that. I mean, so be it. But to me, if the material is kind of like what Sean was pointing it out to be, I gotta admit, I'm in the same vein in the sense of where if I'm watching,
it's not
here's
that
the thing.
bad.
I'm
I
not
mean,
I'm
trying
not
to-
saying that bad, but I'm
not
saying
trying to I'm not trying to tell people not to go see the movie.
Right.
Because I would almost say that as far as matching the tone of the short stories and doing a good job of tying them together within a legitimate film and not just a bunch of short stories, I would say 4 stars. But then I'm subtracting 2 because it just did not meet my expectations, nor did it scare me within the content that he was putting in there. So it was just, to me, it wasn't a scary story at all.
no.
And that was the issue I had. So that's why I'll go right in the middle with 2.
Yeah.
But I mean, everything Keith has pointed out about the film on the positive side is true. But I have certain expectations when it comes to a scary movie, and it's not even considered a horror movie. I don't even think.
Just
there's nothing
suspense
horrible
or mystery
about it
or something.
I mean,
would you
no,
consider?
it's-
I mean, I
it's
know
probably
people say
considered
it's a horror
horror,
movie.
but
It's
it's
just
not.
a
It's not horror.
It's not scary, but I mean, it is considered like a scary movie.
Well, I mean,
don't
like
know how
to me, Stranger Things is pretty freaking scary at times, and I think it has.
Oh, I don't think Stranger Things is
Oh,
scary
I
at
said
all.
the 3rd season is pretty freaking creepy.
It's creepy, but I mean,
But I mean,
that's how I
that
feel about
scares me
this.
more than this
I
movie
felt like
did.
this had like the creatures were unnerving. And that's what I liked. Like I said,
Yeah.
I don't think this movie's scary at all, but I did like how unnerving. Not all of them.
Like I
Really,
said,
it was
the
only
last
2.
one-
The
the last
last
one got
2
me,
was the
but
2 I thought were unnerving.
No.
The other ones really weren't.
Yeah.
But I mean, it
I
was good
overthink
enough.
scary movies, and it was kind of funny. And I don't mean this to sound racial in any way, but in a scary movie, there's always the
the iconic black guy that dies first.
No. There's always
the
the
audience.
iconic black person in the audience that's just like, oh hell no, oh she gonna get killed, and we were sitting next to a couple like that,
It was
and I even
great.
texted Keith like before he got there. I was just like, the people next to us are gonna be hilarious because the woman, the woman had her popcorn, she had her blanket out on her legs, and
So
she
people
was
like, yo, the movie's just chill. You
oh
know?
yeah, and I was just expecting her to be like, don't you go out the window. Don't go in the closet. What you
Yeah.
going in the basement for?
Basically, like
you know.
the scary movie.
Exactly.
Scary movie.
Exactly.
I would say I will agree. There are well, that's why I give it 3 out of. I didn't give it 4 out of 4 because there are things like you said, like I will admit, like walking through the cornroom at 1 in the morning is stupid. I mean, I give it, but I mean, I don't knock it all the way down.
Going
to 2
into the
just
middle
'cause
of a haunted house
but,
in the middle of the night with no flashlight.
No, that's fine.
not
It
stupid.
was Halloween. They were kids.
They're stupid
kids do
kids.
that. Yeah, well, kids do that. I mean,
I
would've-
never did that.
I would have. If there was a house that might have been
To me,
like
I don't
haunted,
know. It's always
I would
about
have done that.
It's always about the setup, and
Yeah.
it's always about do they set these kids up to be responsible, or because
Yeah.
that's the weird thing you may
It's
not
like
get in a
in-
short
Well, they
story.
set her up
And
as someone who
sometimes-
loves horror and
Right.
scary
She
things.
wants
so
to
it
go
made
be
sense that-
adventurous, but I
So-
mean to go down to the deepest, darkest depths
Well,
of
and
this
here's the other thing,
house
too,
with
is-
spider webs and
and
no
this is
lights,
where-
and I'm just like, no.
I felt that was believable because the 2 boys didn't want to. They were terrified. They're
I
like,
get
"Oh,
that.
let's get out of that."
But see, here's
Yeah.
the thing, and maybe this is where I'll kind of meet you all both ways because I
Uh-huh.
haven't seen the film. But it's
Yeah.
like you're
You should
talking
go
about.
check. You should check it out
I definitely want
when
to
you get A-list again.
But that'll be a while because they don't let me join for 6 more months.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, they'll come around.
Okay.
They will. But the thing is I actually would say I would prefer the jump scares because if based on the way they
If they're set up right,
well,
yeah.
but if even then it's like what's the point of a scary story? Like when you get around a campfire and you're telling ghost stories. Sometimes it's like the details don't matter. What matters is it going to be scary enough to
Sometimes
make
the
me
details do matter though. 'cause if
they
you create
do.
the
So
atmosphere
here's
that
the thing: you
creeps
can't
out.
have one.
I'll
It's
agree with
either
that.
one or the
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, okay, are you going to add enough details to the story? Because if there is no axe on the wall, if there's no easy escape, if there's a legitimate enough reason for them to not be able to get out of this scenario, then that's what freaks you out.
right.
Yeah.
But then again, if there is something that keeps you in that in that situation, and it's like, oh well, why didn't they just grab the axe on the wall? I don't care that they didn't grab the axe on the wall. If you give me a good jump scare and I'm like, oh man, that was great. I got, I peed my pants.
Yeah.
Well,
it
then
hug-
it's
it
like
hugs
that.
him to death.
Right. And so to me,
I'm just like, this is weird.
that's like
But,
freaking
yeah, I get
Draco,
it.
Draco Malfoy. And,
No,
that's
that was
scarier.
different. No, no. This
That
thing
was
was creepy.
scarier?
This thing was
Hugged in
creepy.
hugs.
This thing was creepy.
It was creepy.
Yeah.
But
But my point is that you got to have one or the other.
Yeah.
It's either you go for the details and you scare people into that because that's your atmosphere. I mean, that's the scary thing about it. And the fact is like when you look at that
Well, even
movie,
it is guilty of, I think, of silly things. There's
silly,
plenty
but
of-
no,
yeah.
I don't know. The way the character
Yeah.
development revolves around the kids
Well,
and
the kids
building
are
them up to
development, but I'm
being
talking about the
susceptible.
horror. Like, there's nothing in the first It that I thought was scary.
oh,
I just that to it. Oh man,
I almost cried.
I mean, I'm not sitting
Just
here.
just the opening, like with him and Georgie, I thought that was terrifying. But after that, like he never really did anything again that was.
I don't know the part
creepy.
where they go to the house.
But see, that's
That
another
whole
thing.
scene.
It's like they went to the house because they had to.
Yes.
They didn't
There
just
was a
walk
motive.
into some freaky,
Yeah.
scary
Right.
house just for the heck of it, like these kids in this movie did. It was like they went in there because they had to, and they tiptoed around every corner. These kids were running through it like it was freaking King's Island. And I'm like, you don't know what or who or what is in that house. And I'm just
Well,
like,
they're
yes,
not
kids,
expecting ghosts to
kids don't
exist.
think of, stupid. Yeah, but hobos exist. Could have been a freaking
Kids
hobo
don't think
with
about
a,
no hobos.
some hobo
I didn't think
hopped
about
up on-
hobos when I was a kid.
Homos? You didn't think about homos? When
Nope,
you were a
not
kid?
that
thought
either.
about them all the time. See, that's where we're different. Right? Over on Lemont, we used to go through the big
Yeah.
sewer drain.
Oh yeah,
drainage
we did
pipe.
the same thing.
And man, I would walk through that like one step
used to
at a
ride
time.
our bikes through
I
there.
know, but man, that was freaking scary because you know why? Because it was down there.
Yes.
That in my mind,
Exactly.
that freaking thing was gonna come out of
And that's
somewhere.
the thing, but that's tapping into something. It's like, I mean, the fact that you could create a story that would tap into something that simple, but then scare everybody
yeah.
else because now, even in real life, you
Yeah.
approach it and it has that kind of atmosphere. I don't know. To me,
I
it's
don't
got to be
scare
one or
easy,
the other.
though, either. Like,
Well,
maybe
I know, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
in general,
I
to
do.
me, the point of the
if,
film,
if it's realistic enough.
yeah,
right, and the
Yeah.
point of the film to me is you got to try to go for one or the other.
Yeah.
You either
Yeah.
have the details that build the atmosphere and make it freaky, or you have the jump scares that make you think, I don't care about the details. It did what it was supposed to do,
Yeah.
which was scare me
Yeah.
and freak me out. If it doesn't do one or the other, and they might have failed in that approach
well, this isn't going
only
to do a lot
because
either because again, it's
a kid. It's more of a
It's-
tweens.
it's a kids'
Exactly.
movie. It's like the kids don't even die. Like I mean, at the end of the movie, they pretty much tell you
It's like we're
we're
gonna
find a way to bring them back.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, so yeah, this is definitely a kids movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For heaven forbid, one of the stupid kids, gets killed.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, those kids deserve to die.
Well, one of them,
I'm just kidding.
one of them did.
One of them did, but
He deserved what he got.
But yeah, that was,
I'm still, I don't know. I'm still interested in checking it out. I am. I still want
yeah,
to. I want
yeah.
to watch
It's
it.
not bad. Yeah.
Yeah,
see it.
I'm
It's
not.
just-
so
it's not great either.
I have a
Yeah.
feeling I'll probably come in between 2.5.
there you go.
That's what I'm thinking, but I don't know
it's
until I
it's
see it.
enjoyable, but it's not a
So-
scary story
Yeah.
to me.
Okay.
But
So it's just to tell in the dark.
yes,
Yeah, you did get what
it's
I
a
was-
story you tell in the dark.
story you tell in the dark. All right.
Scary, maybe.
My joke
not.
fell flat. I'm
It
sorry.
did. It was
awful.
terrible.
That's
All
right.
right. I think we should just move on
You
to
should feel
headlines.
ashamed of your ridiculous joke.
We've only got one headline this
We
week,
have a viewer
guys.
that says, "Please don't ever bring up Draco Malfoy again."
Who could that be?
Draco.
I wonder who it could be. Who do you think it could be?
Draco.
I know who it is, but
I know who it is. I don't have to look.
he who shall not be named.
yes.
There's a lot of hugging in those because freaking.
We're not bringing
I'm just
that
saying.
up.
Even in Fantastic Beasts, freaking Grindelwald hugs Constance, and I'm like, why are the villains always hugging people in these damn movies?
It's because
Yeah.
you
Grindelwald's gay though,
That's true.
That's true.
so he was probably having some.
And Ezra
pedophilia.
Miller's gay in real life, so maybe they're
How
just
old is that guy?
connecting.
Ezra Miller.
He's in his 20s.
Is he
I
of
think.
age?
He's
Oh,
gay
yeah,
in
he's
real
of
life.
age. Yeah, Ezra
Look
Miller.
at him.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The Flash.
The Flash
Yeah,
is gay.
he's-
I didn't know
He's
that.
wore dresses to red carpet stuff.
Oh god.
I thought he
Yeah.
was just doing that to be fashionable or
No,
stylish. or
he's
something.
true.
I thought he was just trying to outcry of like, give me attention.
No,
That's what
he's-
He
celebrities
does
do.
look kind of emo. So
I didn't know
He is
that.
emo.
Oh, we learned a lot about Ezra Miller.
Yeah,
All right,
Yeah.
okay.
let's move it on to our headline this week. Not a very, it's not something we've shied
Headlines.
away from before, but I wanted to dive into
Hmm.
this age-old topic of the Oscars. Okay, now
Ooh, that's cold coffee.
hear me. Ooh, don't drink that.
I'm not.
I like
it's
cold
gross. Starbucks. Mm.
Sorry.
Should the Oscars reconsider the categories that they have? And one of those being, should they add stuntmen?
Well, we've discussed this before with
Yes.
voice actors and with motion caption
Yep.
actors.
And now we have actual another famous stunt producer.
Yeah.
I forget. Gill. I'm sorry. I'm forgetting his first name.
Vince.
Vince Gill.
I mean, my stance on this is the same as
Jack.
it was with the other ones. Is
Jack
that
Gill.
absolutely, I think they should be rewarded. Here's the problem, though: the Oscars are already too bloated. They go on way too long. So it's like, how do you fit any more categories in there unless you do them off screen?
But here's the thing: should this be? I think one of those things that is incorporated into adding new categories. Should it be condensing the show and adding more meaningful categories that actually not only pay tribute to those who
I think
deserve
the
it in
stunt
the film industry?
categories. I think that's more worthy than. I mean, and not to knock people who make foreign films, but I mean,
Oh yeah.
Yes,
the foreign
I
film
agree
category or
completely.
documentary or short documentary. I mean,
Yeah.
those are things that it's not to say that they don't deserve
Even the
recognition,
animated
but-
short. I don't think that.
Well,
Right.
I would animated. I think is,
he's
Uh,
now he's been in his roles.
I would no. I mean, I don't. Why wouldn't animated be just as?
Why wouldn't foreign
important as-
film?
Because it's not, I mean, made in Hollywood. So
Yeah,
why
but
does
the
it matter?
foreigners
if
would
it's an Oscar?
There are
probably
short films
say
that aren't made in Hollywood
most
either.
of the
Some of
animated
them-
shorts are made.
They get
in
rid of the. I
foreign
think if you get
countries.
rid of animated short, you might as well get rid of live action short too.
Yeah, I'd be
well,
fine
that's
with
fine
that.
then.
I mean, that's the
That's
thing.
fine. No, that's fine then.
I'd-
If you would,
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need either one of them. I would say if you have
Well, here's
one,
the
you
thing.
should
No,
have the other.
I don't think that they should get rid of the categories. They should get rid of what's aired. I
Yeah.
mean, to me, they air these. They every year they air categories regarding
Oh, yeah.
technical achievement.
No, they don't need to
I mean,
air
they could
animated
technically
short.
air it. They just don't have to present it. They could very easily
Say,
go up
here's
on
who
the
won.
screen and say,
True. There
the
you
other
go.
day we held these awards. Here are the
Winners
you know,
of this
here were
category.
the winners of this category,
And they could do
honor
5
them
of them.
there.
Yeah.
but don't
Yeah.
go into this big long thing for them. Yeah,
True.
I agree. But yeah, stuntmen, motion capture artists, voice actors, because voice actors don't get any type of recognition other
True.
than their own little show. And I think, I mean, the same thing with stuntmen. They don't get any recognition. Heck, I mean, there's so many.
It's
to
kind of
go.
funny. This comes up right after Once Upon a
A
Time in
where-
Hollywood.
yeah. Brad Pitt's character
Yes,
deserved
yes,
his recognition.
exactly.
Cliff
Well,
Booth
actually, no. It
needs
was
a
partly
award.
because of that. It was
But
because it was the
even the
joke in the movie.
Casting
alluded to
director, I
this.
think. Why don't casting directors get recognition? Because a lot of times, I mean, and sometimes director
Well,
plays.
that's when they'll go to they'll say the Screen Actors Guild. That's where that comes into play
Yeah.
because you have
Yeah.
best ensemble,
Yep.
and so you have that awarded there. Whereas best anything
Yeah, but that's
given an
not
Oscar,
That's a
but
screen
an
actor.
Oscar is
Oh.
more or less given to an individual.
Yeah.
And so while you could say it's awarded to
Well,
the
acting
casting
director-
director,
Casting director is an individual.
but no, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Then yeah, they could eventually say instead of best ensemble, you could say for the Oscar you're going to get
That's what
to the
I,
best
that's
casting
what I said.
director.
I never
Right,
said
right.
anything about an ensemble.
But I'm saying that's what they would argue probably is that well we already award that, you know. I'm playing devil's advocate
yeah, I know,
basically.
but they don't award it an Oscar. You can
True.
say you awarded a Screen Actors Guild award, but who gives a
But
crap
who's to
about
say that that's not as prestigious? In fact, in the acting community, they would
Oh,
say
it
that
is.
SAG is much more prestigious than an Oscar
for
because it's
actors.
amongst your peers.
Right.
So it's
But
like
the actors get that, not the casting director.
true, but here's the thing: the
Yeah.
casting director would be receiving an honor of the SAG award for best ensemble. I'm just saying, as playing devil's advocate, I'm not saying I'm against
Did
what
they get the
you're saying.
award? Who gets the award for best ensemble?
I don't know.
I say if the
because they
casting
only-
director-
I think
if the
everybody
casting
who's in
director-
that ensemble gets it.
But do the actors get it, or does the casting director get it?
I think only the actors.
Well,
I
see,
don't, but I don't know.
That's my
Don't
point,
quote me
is
on
the
that.
casting director doesn't get the recognition they deserve because they
Well,
chose that
isn't
cast.
the
Yeah.
ensemble winning enough recognition?
No, because they don't get a damn award.
Yeah.
I would
You
would
know
assume.
what? Okay, best actor wins best actor. Why does a supporting actor? He should have the honor of knowing he acted in the same film with that best
That's
actor.
true. So now we just
You
snub
get rid
best
of
supporting
yeah.
actor.
I mean, you can play devil's advocate all day, but it's like I mean, it's funny. Like they
It's the same thing if you win Best Picture, but you don't win Best Director. I mean, Best Picture means you directed the Best Picture,
True.
whether
Right.
your name
so
is
why do you
mentioned
need
or
a
not.
best director?
Right.
Because they need someone to be runner up.
That's true. We have talked about that.
But see, that's okay. But here's the thing: there are so many categories they could.
They
add.
could. That's
and I
true.
would say that in the midst, I mean, you do have best editor.
Mhm.
I mean, in
And I
terms
think
of
that's
yeah, I think
should
that
be, yeah.
absolutely. But it's also kind of one of those situations where okay, but the casting director's picked by the producer.
Mm-hmm.
So if you win best picture, then technically aren't you awarded in that category? You know, I know.
good. Yeah.
No,
I
it's
mean,
not
you're
a
right.
direct individual, but I know people who would make that argument.
Yeah.
But then again, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing a
But-
best casting director.
If that's the case, I mean,
because you have production design, you have
got,
you know,
I'm trying to think.
set decoration. I mean,
yeah.
you have
See,
all these.
what they need to
others.
do is have all of these technical things first, and then start the live feed and have all of your main categories.
I agree.
And throughout the night, while we're all sitting at home watching that or CSI, whichever one we like better, we'll see.
Usually, I'm watching
see.
the bootleg versions of the Best Picture noms.
But yeah, while they're airing the live show, during that they'll present on screen or whoever, somebody can come up and say, you know, before the show started or before we went live, this person won best stunt coordinator, this person won best voice
Yes.
acting. Have it all before and present it live
I agree.
during the thing, but they don't need to have the people walking up and accepting and giving their freaking 45-second, 2-3 minute speeches about global warming. I don't care about that stuff.
Right.
And it's just like you're a good stuntman. Good job blowing stuff up and catching yourself on fire. You got an award, now get out. You know, that's fine. show their name. I think that's all they really want is the award.
And the recognition.
And the recognition, yeah, because it's on paper somewhere. It's going to be on TV somewhere.
Well, and it gives
I don't think
you-
they're necessarily asking to be able to walk the red carpet and walk up
Well,
front
they just
and get
want
the award.
the same recognition that because they do play a key part in a
Yes.
lot of films, and it's like they just want
yeah.
to be recognized for the work they put in the same way all these other people are getting recognized for creating a best picture. It's like,
Well, and I think their main argument
if
too
they
is,
honored everybody, it'd be an all day thing.
well,
True.
okay,
I'm
but
just like, they
and
can't
that's-
do that.
But that's the whole point of
Best
having
key
a
grip.
But well, that's what I was saying.
Best boy grip.
Best boy.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and that's the thing. I think what it comes down to is you do have to think
There is
about
a
what is
line, yeah.
what is prominent, but it's like what their argument would probably be for, especially considering stuntmen, is we're putting our lives on the line. And if this is also not only recognition for us, but it's the way in which we get our next job, because we are below the line people.
Yeah.
And that's the way a lot of what Hollywood and how it works is you have above the line and below the line. Above the line gets paid the most, and they're the ones that get most credit.
Yeah.
Below the line people are just happy to be there. And so the reason you don't get a best key grip is because there are tons of key grips running around. There's tons of people.
Anybody
who do,
can be a key grip. Come on.
Well-
tick all the key grips off out there.
Well, you say that, but you don't know.
No,
I mean, you
no,
have
absolutely.
some
I don't know.
crappy people on movie sets
Yeah.
who probably don't do what they're supposed to
Yeah,
do.
you get people that walk across
You get
in Christian
deadbeats.
Bale's light, and then he has to go on a freaking rampage because
That's,
that person's not getting an Oscar because he walked through the light.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. He's getting snubbed. But I agree. I think I agree with Sean. I think it's more of a they still need to go through and pinpoint what are prominent categories
Yeah.
that do deserve to be not only nominated but rewarded. And then I also think to cut back on the show. And honestly, what I would like to see, and I think it would be kind of a cool experiment, is to mix it up every year. So have certain categories that are announced during the primetime show, and say the primetime show is a 2-hour set limit. And there's a 2-hour limit of everything that you can get in, whether you want to say all the, you want to play pieces from the original score, or you want to say, do the original song numbers, or you want this person to have 30 seconds to speak or a minute, blah, 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 blah. It's like you have a 2-hour block. That's it, because that's what people are really tuning in to see. And you do have your still top 5 major categories: your best director, best picture, actor, actress, supporting actress. And then all the other ones, jumble them up.
Yeah.
Every year you have specific ones that are on rotation that get put in there for the live broadcast, and other ones that are just mentioned
that would be
as,
fair.
hey, these were rewarded earlier in the night before we went live, and they got their Oscar. And still give them the spotlight, but it's a brief 5-second intro into whatever the next segment is. And then that way it's like every year you get a rotation of people who are honored. They're all getting Oscars, and they're all worthy of getting those Oscars, but it's not taking up the amount of time that everybody is clamoring is way too much for this program, and ultimately what has really kept a lot of people from tuning in and getting new viewership for the Oscars. What do y'all think about that?
No, I mean that's
No, I
totally
mean-
fair. I mean, if they would get rid of a lot of the sideshow, I think they could fit a lot more awards in. I don't need to hear so and so perform the original song from a. That's 4 minutes.
I actually
that they
like
could have
the
been
song
presenting the
performances.
awards. I mean, save it for the MTV Music Awards or whatever.
I
Like,
think I was sad because they did get rid of those for a while, and I was excited they brought them back because I feel like that's part of awarding the movies. But for me, what I don't need to see is Jimmy Kimmel take his audience through a theater
That's
for
true.
Yes,
6 to 8.
exactly.
It's like
That's
the little joke, like Ellen
I
DeGeneres
agree.
ordering a pizza. They were
fine.
That was short and funny. That's
Yeah.
fine. But when you do these long, drawn out gags that aren't even
trying to relate
humorous,
to the little people.
Yes.
They don't relate
Well,
to
then
us
it
at
just
all.
become insulting. Not
Yeah.
not to mention you do it 2 years in a
In a
row,
row.
and then it really becomes
Yeah,
insulting.
It does.
It's like, oh, this is
Yeah,
what
the
you did
shows-
last year,
the
but
shows
they
won't
what
know
they
we
think of
pulled
us.
one over on them. It's like they really are blue collar.
Yeah, it's just, and then again, like you said, I mean, if they could say, okay, you have this long to make a speech, and just keep it to thanking who needs to be thanked instead of letting them, and which they're
No
not going to
soapbox.
do. They love the soapbox.
Oh, I
and so
know.
they're
But
not
they,
gonna-
and they're
but
not
I mean,
going to do that.
when
They're
they-
not going
and
to
that's the
stop
thing,
them from
is
getting on
they
a
will,
soapbox.
they'll somebody will get up there and be completely
You know
gracious
it.
and will give a great speech, and then they'll be like, okay, you got to get off. They'll play the music and
Yep.
rush them off, but then somebody will get up there on their soapbox and they'll be like, all right, no, let them stay up there for a while. And it's like, why? Because they're saying something that you like to hear? No, get them off the damn stage. They don't need to sit up there for 3 minutes going on about
Well, then, and
whatever.
that's why I agree.
Yeah.
I say you just keep it to a blanket. Like, look, we know this is a major platform, but be humble and just thank the people who you work
Think
with
who you
on
need to
this film.
thank and get off the
Right.
stage.
Yeah.
Right. And but then again, I don't know. I think you put too many restrictions on it, then you keep people from, I don't care about their opinions.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'd rather them get up there and make it and then have other people call them out and say, we don't like you because you made this opinion, and then it's like,
Yeah.
hey, you have the soapbox, get up there and say it however you want, but it's not going to make me respect you anymore. Why I watch your movies is because of the performance you gave.
I don't even know. Like Leonardo DiCaprio won his award, and halfway through his speech, I lost track of what he was even going
Yeah.
on about.
Oh, yeah, I know.
His first one, and he blows it.
Yeah.
Like literally. His
No,
speech was terrible.
I went back and it popped up on the YouTube and I rewatched it and I was like, what the
He
hell
just
is
goes
he
on
talking
a random
about?
time. He loses focus halfway through, and I'm like, I don't even know what the hell he's going on about anymore.
It was something about global warming.
It was
though,
about
right?
global warming, but I'm just like, he's went way
At
out
least,
there.
like Marlon Brando with the Indians made sense.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't even show up.
He didn't.
He started talking about how they had to go 500 more miles north to find snow for the Revenant because they were in Canada or whatever and couldn't find
It's
snow.
not always.
And I'm like, it was probably summertime.
No, say it's not
Maybe you
always
should have
cold
waited
in
until
Canada.
winter. But yeah, he's like, we had to go 500 miles north to the Arctic Circle to find snow because where there used to be snow, it's melted. I'm like, that happens everywhere except at the North Pole and the South Pole. I mean, like, you're
I don't
stupid.
know. But the
Captain
thing
Planet.
is,
God.
I'm waiting for that. He's supposed to be
I
producing
know
that
he's
movie.
it's supposed to be coming out. It's a
Oh.
legitimate
That
movie.
wasn't even a good show.
It's
Like,
gonna But the thing is I do think that coming back to the Oscars,
Yeah.
I think they should rethink their categories. I think they should open it up to more people who need to be honored and rewarded. It doesn't lessen the degree of the award. I think if anything, it heightens it because it says, look, we do take notice of everybody in the movie industry that makes these films happen. But it's just you're not all going to get airtime. And to make it fair, say, okay, you're definitely not all going to get airtime. There are people who do make a more prominent, have a more prominent reason for being up on that stage than the key grip or, the lighting guy. But even still, you have people who get up there and it's like, you don't know them. They're not household names, and you don't know them from Joe Schmo. But it's like they are.
I know Bub Asman.
Well, I mean,
Bub Asman.
he deserves his time
I
up
think
there.
too, like we love him, so we sit and watch him. But the majority of people
Nobody
watching,
cares.
That's what I'm saying. The majority of the people watching the Oscars, that's when they get up to get a new bowl of chips and dip.
Yep.
Is when they say the technical categories. Best sound editing. That's when people's like, I'm gonna go get another beer.
Well,
like
and
nobody watches it, so why televise it?
Well,
Put 'em-
it's a weird thing. To be frank, what we were just talking about how we hated the speeches that a lot of people tune in. That's what they tune in for is
Or
best
to hear-
actor, best
to
actress
hear their
speech,
speeches,
and
yeah.
that's what they report on. Is like they want to sit there and listen and be like, "Oh, did you hear what so and so said at the Oscars? It was unbelievable."
Meryl
And it's
Streep
just-
at the Golden Globes
Yeah.
is my spirit animal.
That one was probably really sad.
I guarantee you it
it
was.
was. But that's the thing is like normal average people, that's all they do care about. Or what crazy thing
Yeah.
could somebody get up there and say?
A
Or
lot of people don't even
incredible
watch the
humble
whole
moment.
thing. They just watch one part of it, and
Right.
then that way they can post on Facebook, oh, I loved Leo's speech.
Or,
last
oh my
night."
gosh, I love them in that movie. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's like, you've never seen that movie.
Right, nor did you watch the Oscars.
Exactly.
you
You
just
watched it
watched
on-
that
yeah.
one part.
They watched the clip on Facebook,
Yeah.
as it was scrolling through their stream.
Right,
I mean,
right.
But that's the thing. So for us who are nerds and geeks, it's like, of course we want to see the categories broadened. But we'd also like to see it reduced in terms of being a bore to us and to your average Joe who may like to eventually, we can't change Hollywood's attitudes overnight.
No.
There's no way we're going to be able to change, their thoughts of what it is they're going to say.
Even, like, the Oscars in the 90s were entertaining. I mean, that was
Yeah.
Yeah.
Billy Crystal, Whoopi Goldberg. I mean, that was when you had hosts that were funny. That everything was a political statement. They honored the movies. And I mean, but they were still entertaining. They had gags and jokes that were legitimately funny, but they didn't go on for 5 minutes or longer.
People thanked their moms
Stupid.
and God, and that was it. It was just like, okay,
Yeah.
good speech.
Much more
Get
humble.
that. Yeah, it was a lot more humble, a lot more closer
Well,
to
I
home.
think
It wasn't
too-
this.
Even my parents, I know when they tuned in it was a lot more about the spectacle because it was just it was a big award ceremony.
Yeah.
And it was what was on air.
Tuxedos and
Right. And it was just kind of like, oh, let's see what the rich and famous are
Well, I
up
think
to. But I think now with just how bombarded we are with
Well,
so
I was gonna
much
say,
in
it's
YouTube.
funny
and
because
it's like you just don't get
the
that.
internet, exactly.
Yeah.
Back then, the only time you really saw like celebrity stuff was in the news or at the Oscars.
Yeah,
But now,
true.
like, you're so like just
Inundated with
overexposed
it,
and
yeah.
inundated with like
We see
everything online and
everything they're doing
yeah.
is on Twitter. I mean,
Yeah.
they live their lives on
So
Twitter.
now
Well, that's
it's-
how celebrities become
Yeah.
celebrity now. It's like
Yeah.
they're not even movie stars
Exactly.
anymore.
Now they're
Twitter
internet
freaking
sensations.
internet
They're YouTube
sensations.
stars. So
Exactly.
yeah, so like you see so much of that like it's no longer glamorous. That's
Right.
what the Oscars used to be, glamorous, and you wanted to get like a little slice of that and see it. And now it's like, well, we see so much of it every day that it doesn't even look glamorous. They just look like these
Hoity-toity.
Yeah,
I'm
these-
better than you. You all are poor white trash.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there we go.
That was it.
I think we've
That's
proven that.
how that goes.
All right, guys, are y'all ready to move on to our unique weekly segment?
Yes, please.
Let's get to it.
Multimedia. Multimedia.
That's right, multimedia.
Gets me every time.
Every time.
Haven't you heard?
Oh,
I love
gosh.
it.
Who says
Oh.
that? Is that Keith?
Yeah,
That
Did he
is.
say that?
That's
Oh,
him.
it's
That's
me.
Keith.
God, it
He
gets me
says it
time.
every time. Our
Every time.
media segment, guys. Y'all know what it is. We teased it earlier in the show.
Did
so, picture and sound quality. How important are they to viewing a movie? Let's throw it to you, Keith. Let's get you. I'm going to catch you off guard.
You didn't catch me off guard.
No, he was
You
ready.
thought about this?
Yeah, no, I mean, they're pretty dang important.
If you don't have them, you don't have a movie.
Here's the thing.
That's true.
That is true. That is
That was a
that's
keen
true
observation.
there, sir. You're right. You got to have sound and you got to have image, because otherwise you're just watching a blank wall. It's true.
All right, get Aaron
But
back
no,
on
no,
here.
But yeah.
Trading you in, Keith.
Oh yeah.
On a blonde.
But
I'd love to see her pull that off.
Pull it off.
You got to do that next time you're on here.
Do it, Aaron. But no, here's the thing. I can watch. I mean, obviously, I'll watch a movie on my iPad. Like if I'm traveling somewhere or whatever, and like I'll watch a movie on my iPad. That's fine, because I mean it still looks and sounds fine. Now, if I'm at home, I want to watch my 4K TV with surround sound, because it's just so much more immersive for me.
But is it
Right.
Dolby Atmos?
It's not. I
Or
wish
is
it
only
was.
that 5.1?
It's only 5.1. I wish it was Dolby Atmos. The better, the bigger the better, in my opinion. But anyways, I'm not so much that I can't watch something on that. But when it comes to, like I said, like as far as like video quality, and it's like I said, someone like went and sat in a theater and filmed it on their camera, and it's like I have people I'm related to that'll watch that. They're like, oh, this is fine. There's nothing wrong with this. It's like,
Yeah.
I can't do it. It's like, I mean, I will if I have to, but I can't. It eats at me. And like I
Yeah.
have like my parents could watch something that someone filmed with their camera,
Okay.
and it'll be
Well,
like,
all
that
right.
looks fine to me. It's like,
to me, okay, the way I will, I guess, relate to this issue
Uh-huh.
for me is like
Is
when
it
I
the same
watch
thing?
somebody watching like cable television, and they're watching the standard def, and it's the stretched like 4:3 stretched to
Stretched.
widescreen.
Yeah.
drives
I
me
can't-
crazy.
I can't
My parents will
stand
do
it.
that too, and I'm like,
I
Mom,
can't
you need to
stand
fix
it.
the ratio on your TV. What do you
What's the
mean?
ratio?
Like, it looks
One-
fine to me. It's like they're stretched. What do you mean they look stretched? They look normal to
They
me.
look normal.
It's
yeah.
like, how do they look normal? His head's this wide. It
Yeah.
shouldn't be that wide.
And then here's the thing: you switch it to HD, and they're like, "Oh,
Whoa.
okay, like that looks better."
Sometimes,
It's like, oh, yeah,
sometimes
I'll
I'm like,
watch
I
that.
don't see a difference. I'm like,
Now it's got black
Bullshit.
Full
It's
I don't
got
see
black
a
bars
difference.
on it now. I don't like that.
yeah, it's like that doesn't take up the whole. It's not
Yeah.
supposed to take up the whole
Yeah.
screen.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll be watching something like that came out in the '90s that has the bars on the side, and they'll be like, "Well, now there's bars on the side." It's like, because that's how it was filmed. Like that's the whole image. No, it doesn't take up the whole screen. But that's still the whole
Right,
image.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like, no.
Yeah, no,
Just
video-
because you squeeze the image into a 16:9 and it's 4, but doesn't mean that you're seeing more of the image.
It's, You're just seeing the image
Well, see,
stretch.
The question
Exactly.
was, does it take away from your experience or your enjoyment of the film? It's like
Yes.
you could sit there and think if it's a good film, it shouldn't really matter what medium or format or whatever you're watching it on.
True.
But if this is the way the filmmaker made it and you're not seeing it or hearing it the way they intended for you to, then it is taking away from the experience that they wanted to give you when they made the
Great
movie.
example of this is when we went and saw
Dunkirk.
Peter Jackson.
Oh,
Peter
yeah.
Jackson's,
They Shall Not
Grow Old. Yes, I still enjoyed the documentary
Well,
because it was well made,
that
but
was-
it still irritated the crap out of me the whole. And it
That
did.
wasn't bad picture quality. That was bad
The theater.
projector. Like
But-
the theater screwed
But
up.
the picture quality was bad because of them not
Because
having
of
it in
them-
the right.
Yeah, but
I
but
mean, everything was
he's
blurry.
saying because
It affected
I,
my
I
enjoyment.
understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely
Bec-
affected. I mean, it
because
affected your.
They didn't have the
you
right
couldn't see
lens
it.
on, so everything was fuzzy. It's like, while I still appreciate the documentary for what it was because it was well done,
Yeah,
like I couldn't enjoy it as fully
you
as
couldn't
I
even
I-
concentrate on what was
It kept
happening. in the
bugging me.
film.
I was like, man, like I can't
So,
enjoy
I
this
mean,
because they've screwed up.
But
the,
in that instance, it specifically
Yeah.
it made a poor experience for.
and there was
viewing
another
the film,
instance
right.
where they did the same thing, and it wasn't even. It was an actual movie, not the not when we saw Civil War and they jumped.
It was
the thing.
that was Civil War. It was the
Yeah,
one.
but there was something else.
Well,
where
we
they
went
didn't
and
have
saw
the-
we went and saw Fantastic Beasts, and the sound was terrible in that theater.
Oh, that drives me crazy.
like they
too.
only had the center channel going. They didn't have the
Yeah.
subs or the surround sound going. It was just like watching it with a sound
when
bar.
we saw
and
Ragnarok.
it was terrible.
Me and
Ragnarok.
Brandon went and saw Ragnarok after me and you had seen it, and the sound in that movie, like,
Yep.
because that has such an awesome soundtrack,
Yeah.
and the sound in that was terrible. And even
was
Brandon was like,
flat.
"This sounds terrible." I was like, "Trust me, dude, this is not how it's supposed to be." 'Cause,
Yeah.
like it bugged me the whole time we watched Ragnarok.
See,
'cause I
but
was
then
like,
again,
"Man."
I was also, and I kind of brought this up at the beginning of the show because I think we can all agree that yes, if the picture or the sound is not seen,
The way it's
in the
meant
way
to
it's,
be?
then
Yeah.
of course it affects the film. But even then, I mean, there are some that you can't get around that in terms of like with I jokingly said Dunkirk just before,
Yeah.
but I mean that. Christopher Nolan is very prideful about making films specifically for like IMAX and
Yeah.
for the sound quality and
Yeah.
the picture quality. And I mean, I applaud him for it, but he also knows that they're going to have a home video release.
yeah,
So he knows that you're going to have to reduce that format to less than what his standard is, but he still makes sure that it's in its most pristine
Dunkirk
Oh,
in
yeah.
4K
format.
is still
Yeah,
gorgeous.
because it
Oh
fills
yeah,
the screen.
absolutely.
and that surround sound when
Yeah.
I was watching. What was it? I was watching some. Oh, I put in Lord of the Rings because
Yes.
I have never watched it, even though it's just a Blu-ray. Like the TV's still supposed to upscale it a little bit, and I was like, you know what? I've never watched it since I got my 4K TV. I want to see what it looks like upscaled, which it does look. I wish I could get it in HDR because Lord of the Rings in HDR is probably just.
Mind blowing.
But even the 1080 Blu-ray upscaled looked good, but the surround sound,
Yeah.
because it's like this is the nicest surround sound I ever owned is the one I had now, and like when it was playing, I was like, oh my gosh, like I need to rewatch all these movies just to listen to them again.
Yeah. Right.
It
Because-
changes the experience
Yeah.
completely. I watched Rocket Man, which
Yeah.
I didn't like the movie, but I watched a cam vid because I couldn't go to the theater to see
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
So I did watch something I found on the internet, bootlegged it, and
Never.
and it was such a poor quality picture and sound that it was so pixelated, and the compression they
Yep.
used was terrible.
Yep.
I mean, it didn't even look like it was shot on an iPhone. It was shot on like an iPhone 3.
Yeah.
3G. But it was terrible, and I watched the whole film that way. But when just recently I got a hold of the Blu-ray
Yeah.
and watched it, and I'm just like, that's a different movie. Like
Yes.
I enjoyed the
spectacle of
dance
it.
scenes in the street when they're
Yeah.
dancing and singing in the street. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed a lot of the costumes and stuff because I was actually able to see all of the detail
And the vibrantness,
and everything.
yeah.
Yeah. So it didn't change my star rating of the film as a whole, but it made my experience of watching it again much more enjoyable.
See, and that's
than
the
watching
thing.
it.
There's a difference between, and that's the what we're talking about is because like you can watch it and say okay for all the merits of the story,
Yeah.
I'm going to give it this star rating,
Right.
But it's like because you knew you weren't watching the true, essence of
Yeah.
what the film was created to be, the
Yes.
spectacle
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
But it's like I mean I completely understand that. It's like I can take the merits of the story out of everything else, but it's like so I can watch a movie and tolerate it if it's in that circumstance and like I can't see it any other way, just if we're doing a review. But most of the time, like absolutely I want to see it as it's intended to be
yeah.
seen.
Yeah.
Because that of course is what gives you the full experience.
Well, the first time I watched like Josh Trank's Fantastic Four, not the one that had a sequel, but the one that they tried to reboot and was still terrible. I watched that as a screen vid, and it looks awful. But then when I finally saw it in real life and I watched it again, it was still terrible. So.
I was wondering where that was going.
No,
I love that.
See, like I have the
it's a
exact
terrible
opposite.
movie.
I bought
It was a bad movie.
I bought First Man on
Yeah.
in 4K
Ooh,
and watched
good
it,
movie.
and I do have Dolby Atmos, but mine's
Yeah.
only 7.1. But so I had everything going, and I'm sitting there remembering how it was in the IMAX theater with 44,000 watts pumping through the speakers, and I had mine, cranked up pretty good and everything. And in fact, I blew out my center channel
Again?
No.
That's the second time.
Oh,
in a year.
no. Yeah, that was the
Oh
what
my
movie were we
gosh.
watching when we did that?
Dunkirk.
Dunkirk
Yeah, we
did
watched
that. Okay,
Dunkirk.
wasn't First Man, it was Dunkirk.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had it pumped up and everything, and I'm just sitting there thinking, this is amazing that I'm experiencing this in my living room.
Yeah.
But this isn't like what I saw in the theater. It doesn't sound the same.
It's
like
not the same.
that right off the bat at the beginning of the film when he's in the test plane.
Yeah.
And the bolts and nuts are
Yes.
rattling out of coming unscrewed, and he's having to reach up and screw them back in. Like the rattling and sound of that nut backing its way out because of the vibration of the plane.
Yeah.
At freaking 6 Gs was it was nothing compared to how it sounded in the theater.
IMAX, I bet.
Yeah, like in IMAX in the theater,
that
I
full
needed
Dolby
I
Atmos,
wanted to
don't
reach
ya?
up and tighten the bolt up myself. But in my living room, it wasn't the same. So when they make these films, they do have a certain experience that they want you to get from the theater, and I do think you lose that going into your living room.
Right.
But at the same time, like my wife said, she knows there's a difference. She just doesn't care. But it's just, to me, I'm just like, how do you not care?
Right.
Like that changes
see, and
everything.
I think that's
Seeing
where we're
Dark
different.
Crystal. I had a VHS tape of Dark Crystal, and I watched that movie 1,000 times as a kid. And when I watch it now in 4K Blu-ray,
HDR.
in HDR, I see what Jim Henson wanted me to see
And
back
it's
then.
Beautiful.
And it's way more gorgeous than it was on VHS. I wasn't getting the full experience at all.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would even say that if I was to rate the movie when I was a child and rate it now, it would be higher now just simply because I can see.
So that's
what
one instance where the experience changes.
I can see what they put into this film, and that makes it a better film to me because they loved it enough to put all of this detail in there that I was never even seeing.
Well, it's weird because you would think with it being puppetry and all that, because I agree with Sean that you would think that the more detail you get, the more you can tell it's fake. But honestly, it's not. It's the better it looks now, it looks even more realistic. It's like before, because I don't know if I remember watching it on TV. I don't think I ever owned a VHS, but I remember seeing it on TV as a kid, and I remember owning the DVD when DVDs came out. And it's it looks fine, but and it's not like it's a hidden thing that they're puppets. You obviously already know that, but watching it now, in the 4K HDR, is man, this looks even more they look more realistic. You can see the detail on the puppets.
Yeah.
That it's
crazy.
wow, they had actual texture.
You can
to
see
these,
the strings and stuff, but it doesn't
Well,
take
that's
away
the
from
funny
the
thing.
film.
You're probably
Texture
seeing it
adds-
in better
Yeah.
format than you would have in theaters back then.
Yeah.
Oh,
when
yeah,
it released.
absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
you have
Oh, yeah.
better home
it's like
technology
looking
than
through the camera.
But
Yeah.
the texture on them it makes it even more that much more, like you said, immersive. Because it's you see it, and it's man, these things look like they could. Other than like you said, you could see how they're being operated. It's they still look like they could jump right out of the screen, because that's the great thing about great puppetry and animatronics is if done right, because they are tangible, they look real. So.
But see, to me, one other thing I kind of want to bring up is also just what I talked about at the beginning of the show, which was simply, oh my gosh, Keith,
We got some
as
bang
a
thing going.
spaz.
I was agreeing with you.
But it's to me, one of the things that I think about is in terms of sometimes we look for that big budget experience, or can we? Because we're purists. We're not the average Joe who's going to go to the theater and who's going to just turn up and say, it's to us the Dolby Atmos or the latest greatest 4K. Whether it's friggin' OLED or not, or micro LEDs coming. It's all of these new technologies that we're looking into, and we can't wait until they're here and we get to enjoy them.
Yeah.
But it's most average Joes, the standard, and here's the thing, the standard today. And that's where all of us will agree in terms of as technology advances, we all benefit. It's anybody who picks up an iPhone today and then picks up the first iPhone is no, I like this new one better. And it's maybe not when you first held that iPhone, and even maybe on the third generation when you held it, you were no, I'll stick with the new one. But eventually you get to that point, and it's nobody's going back to VHSs. people can
That's
tell
not
it.
entirely true.
Well,
you have those
That's
nostalgic
true. Those
people,
hipsters.
those remnants like
Well.
Nathan Curry. Sorry to call you out, bud, but
Okay, here's the difference. There's a difference between people who want to listen to records, which is analog, versus like VHS.
that's not even records. Like he owns
No,
it's cassette
VHS and he
tapes.
owns
I know.
cassette tapes.
Yeah.
And they're awful quality.
They
terrible,
are, but,
terrible
you know,
quality.
that's
Shame
him,
on
man.
you, Nathan. That is not that's not nostalgia. That's just ignorance. Okay.
There's something fun about pressing rewind.
Yeah.
though. I mean, there is.
My grandfather had like that Chevy
Yes.
rewind. You put the tape in and you pop like the hood down and it
Yep.
rewinds it. I used to love using that thing. I probably
did
broke
too.
cassette. I probably broke VHSs just rewinding them all the time.
Be kind, rewind.
It's like-
That's it. Yeah. I do remember that.
I used to hate having to rewind a movie, but when he got that thing, I was like, I'll rewind every single one of them now.
because super
Yep.
quick. But the
minutes.
thing is it's like for us, I feel like obviously we're purists and we're wanting to be on the edge of the latest and greatest. But eventually everybody catches up and is like, oh yeah, this is much better than before.
Yeah.
But even still, I think of it as
Eventually, you have no choice because they stopped
Yeah,
making old
yeah.
formats. I mean,
exactly, and you have to move on. And while people will gripe and complain,
Yeah.
they're still getting
I
what's
want
better
my Betamax.
eventually. Yeah. Well, and that was an argument of where what was better wasn't, the victor. But
It's okay. Sony won the Blu-ray war.
Blu-ray.
Right.
They
and
may have
HD
lost
DVD.
Betamax, but they won Blu-ray.
I just think they want it because it sounds cooler. Nobody
Blu-ray
wants
ver-
to say HD DVD.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And Blu-ray and
Blu-ray
just kinda-
sounds cool.
Blue looked
Just-
better than like those brown. It wasn't even red.
It was like a
brown.
reddish.
Yeah.
Okay, it looked like
Yeah.
turds.
It was red, but it wasn't a good red. It was red, but it wasn't a good. It was like
No.
a rust color.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was.
like,
it was.
It was like nobody
But
wants
I
to
still
watch
think,
that.
regardless of that, you still have movies like that kind of transcend all that. You have your Blair Witch projects,
Yeah.
Cloverfield. You have these that mimic kind of a lower quality, but it's like, to me, at the end of the day, like for one, I will say I think sound, oddly enough, trumps, or I won't say it trumps picture quality, but I'd rather watch a movie that has bad or worse picture quality than sound.
We have a
Like
viewer
after
who
so
argues
long
against
of
that.
listening
like
to
you
something
mentioned,
terrible,
Blair Witch Project. Blair Witch Project was filmed with like handheld style.
You
like,
could probably watch that
guerrilla
on
style.
VHS and wouldn't be able
Wouldn't
to tell
know the difference.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean that is already just a bad picture quality because it's dark and it's
it's
got
supposed to
noise.
be.
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
One of our
But-
viewers, by the way, say that they would pick picture over
sound, yeah.
I
Really?
saw
Who is that?
Yeah,
Who's
yeah.
who's our viewer?
Neil
Is that-
Singleton.
Neil says
Yeah.
that because here I would.
He said he
challenge-
would like both to be
I
great.
would challenge Neil though to watch a movie with terrible.
He doesn't
audio,
have surround sound. That's
tinny
why he's saying
audio.
Yeah,
that.
he doesn't have surround.
Yeah.
He just has
but
a TV.
but even something that's inaudible, something that's scratchy. I mean, and here's the thing, and he may argue, well, watch something that's out of focus.
Watch Saving Private Ryan with a sound bar, and then watch it at my house, and tell me you wouldn't prefer.
Well, I would prefer.
Well, but
he's
yeah.
just saying if you had to choose image or
Oh,
audio, he'd
Yeah.
rather be able to see it than hear it.
I don't think
guess.
the image.
Which makes sense when you're talking about a movie, but I
Yeah.
think if I'm watching a movie
What else
with
are
no
we talking
but
about?
because if I mute
That's
it,
what subtitles are for.
well then I'm
Brandon.
not going to
No.
watch the movie. I mean, if I
You're gonna
can't
be reading
hear
the
it,
whole time.
Yeah, and
I
that's
watch stuff with subtitles. Sometimes you just can't have
I
the
hate
sound
the
people
out loud.
passion.
I
That's
hate
all you
people that do
watch.
that.
It's sometimes.
With the subtitles?
I hate people that do
I
that.
watch
My
with subtitles
father-in-law
sometimes.
does that, has the subtitles on all the time. I think it's because my mother-in-law can't hear anything. And I'm like, I'm a slow reader, so I read
Well,
and don't see the movie.
I
I'm
just
not
think
as slow.
I
about.
don't need that.
I think about
I can
back
hear. I'm not
when-
deaf, so I don't need for the hearing impaired. I'm not hearing impaired.
I agree. I hate subtitles as well. I hate it whenever I'm watching it on like
they
my
come
phone.
in. They come in handy if you
and it
if you
pops
have
up
to,
automatically.
If you can't have it up loud enough to hear, I mean, the subtitles.
I
are
don't have
well, then
that
yeah,
problem.
if you have that,
But yeah,
But to me, I will say this: like I remember, and this is kind of narcissistic, I guess.
Well,
but we made a
when is it
promo,
not?
for one of our old web series, ITCO, or Is the Camera On?
Yeah.
And the video looked great. We shot it on an iPhone 4, and at the time they shot 720. So our picture quality was actually above what the series was shot on, which was an old camcorder. But then the sound quality was also coming from the iPhone, and that mixed horribly with the music. It was like almost inaudible. And so it was like you couldn't understand what was going on within our promo
yeah.
based on just watching the picture but not really hearing what we were saying. And it was just one of those instances where I was like, crap, like good sound quality, it really does matter.
Well, it matters.
It
And I don't
matters.
think he
Wow.
meant that. He's saying like there's a difference in like he's saying like he would rather have good picture quality and okay sound quality than have like terrible picture. Like, I mean, there's a difference in bad sound. Like, nobody wants it to be bad. Like,
Right,
where you can't
right, right,
I mean, it's
like
like if you
inaudible.
can't have both, if you can't have 4K and surround sound, you can have one or the other. What are you
Pick the
gonna
4K.
pick? Well, yeah,
Yeah.
duh.
Well, yeah, because
Duh.
no. If you
Yeah.
put it like that,
I think
absolutely. Because you're
that's-
talking about a movie.
But I'm
I think that's
saying
what
the,
he
that's the whole
I'm
point,
saying the
yeah.
picture quality I don't think is as immersive as the sound quality. The sound all the way around
Absolutely.
you puts you
No,
there.
I agree.
Where the picture
But I'm not
quality
gonna
doesn't
buy
necessarily put you
Dolby Atmos surround sound and then go watch a tube TV.
there. I get that. I
Yeah.
get that. But it's kind of like if you again, we're talking about the full package too.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you have everything that
you
they
could just have
you
everything.
just need a movie theater in
I
your
ju-
house.
yes.
Is what you need.
Red Moon needs to make it big so we can afford to have
Yeah,
our own theater.
you tried to bring up the thing and then you got sidetracked about indie films versus big budget
no,
films.
it was-
But-
it was
and,
just
and
the-
indie films are better in most cases.
Well,
I
and the
bel- I
thing
think.
is at the
Better
end of the day, it's
films.
like they're sometimes you trade off some of the bigger budget Hollywood. I mean, obviously you're looking at the latest greatest Marvel universe movie
Yeah.
that comes out. It's spared no expense. They have
Yeah.
everything thrown into that. But then you have like an indie flick or something that maybe takes a little bit more heart, and they don't have as much to spend on those things. And yet you could still tell a great
But as long
story.
as it's done well. I mean, look,
Well,
look
exactly.
at
I mean-
Hardcore Henry was awesome.
Oh
Right.
man,
An awesome movie.
yeah.
And that exactly, it all depends on your creativity and ultimately the source material. I mean, the
Yep.
story ultimately does matter, and as long as the story comes across in both picture and sound well enough that
Yeah.
I'm not distracted, then that at the end
As
of the
long
day,
as you-
content is king.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
As long as you use what you have and the medium you have wisely to tell the story to the best of your ability, and if it's well done, then yeah, that's what matters most. And I
Yeah.
think we always have championed that over anything, anyways. That content is more important than any spectacle that you could throw at it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to point out a comment that someone
Uh-oh.
made real quick.
Please
Someone
do.
quoted you and said, "That's not nostalgia. That's just ignorance." They quoted you, but then they added the same
Oh,
is
yeah?
true. Same is
What?
true for Newsboys hats.
What's a
just
newsboy
saying.
hat?
what? What
And
is that about? He's
it-
talking about my hat.
If she's talking about the Newsboys, like the band,
the yeah,
I'm gonna have to call this person out because
I don't think
before
they're talking about the. But what's a
before
newsboy's
Peter Furler
hat?
left, the
Are they talking about
Newsboys
the
were awesome.
Newsies?
It says Newsboys hats.
Newsboys hats. What is this?
Yeah, what's
the
a
U of L
newsboy-
go
what's a
cards?
newsboy
I
hat?
don't know
Yeah,
what
what's
a
a
Newsboys,
who
but
is
yeah,
it?
if you're talking
Who's-
about the band, there's something wrong
Who's
with you.
calling us out?
Who's
calling us out?
Lisa Marie.
Lisa Marie.
Are you talking about like the cabbie hats? Because I wear those. I love those. That's not a
the-
nostalgia thing. That's
She
just
needs
I
to
like
she
that.
needs to clarify
The
quickly.
Newsboys hats. I
saying
think
if that-
Same is true for Newsboys hats. Basically, they're not
Well,
nostalgic. They're ignorant.
Newsboys.
That's basically what she's saying. So that's what I'm-
Newsboys used to wear those cabbie hats like I have, but I like that just because I think they look better on my head than a
oh,
baseball
she's
cap.
talking about actual newsboys, like from
Okay,
back in the
Okay.
day, like
Well,
not
see,
the band.
I disagree.
Okay. I
thought
I
you were
don't
talking
wear
about the
those for
band.
nostalgia. I wasn't alive back when those were popular, so I can't do it
You
for
can't.
nostalgia.
That's not a
purposes.
nostalgic
I would like
for
to
you.
clarify.
Yeah.
I do
Look at
because
this. This is not a newsboys.
no,
hat.
that's a baseball cap. That's what I'm
a
saying.
baseball
baseball
cap.
cap.
I got a big round head,
I
and
think
baseball
this-
caps don't look good on my head very much, but the cabbie hats do. That's why I like them. I think they actually
She
look good on
said
my
she
head.
said like paper boy hats.
Yeah,
But-
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's
okay.
nothing wrong with that. I wear
That's-
those.
I was gonna
wear those all
gonna
the
strike
time.
out because if you're dogging the Newsboys,
Yeah.
I like the
No.
Newsboys.
No. Listen here,
wherever we
Lisa.
go.
Pre God's Not
Listen,
Dead.
listen. Yeah. Listen
Yes,
here.
please.
It's not a nostalgia thing. Sometimes people just genuinely like that style.
But I
True.
think she's getting after me for wearing a cap, which Sean
I
has
don't-
already done on this show before.
I don't
You
know.
should.
You have.
should
Last week you
wear
called
not
me
a-
out.
I do
yeah.
because I liked it better when you just had hair.
It just
Yeah.
had hair. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
where's your
still
hair,
under
Brandon?
there. It's just now it's hat hair. I've been wearing it all day, and I just didn't fix it.
It doesn't
before
look
the
any
show.
different than when you don't have a hat on.
What?
It doesn't.
That
You used
hurts
to-
my
you
feelings.
used to put product
Thanks
in
a lot.
it. You used to have product.
I just-
and
He used
it
to have a
looked
crown
good.
of thorns in like freshman year in high school.
We
and it
don't
was
need
great.
to go there.
Oh.
It took him like 90 minutes to get his hair ready.
We're at level 5 gel and level
Oh,
10
level
pomade.
5
I remember
gel.
we went to
I
church
did.
camp and we were always waiting on Brandon because it took him 30 minutes, like well, not 90, but it did take him like 30 minutes.
It
to,
was 30 minutes.
to do his hair,
and
and
you
I'm like,
could
good
not
Lord.
you could not move that thing.
That's good.
I mean,
You could slap him in the head
It
with
was-
the brick,
yeah.
and he'd have a bloody face, but his hair would be
I used
perfect.
to do the spikes and stuff. I had blonde
See?
highlights.
see?
So
Ooh.
I had frosted tips and an ear.
Oh, frosted
back in high school.
tips. I love
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Heck yeah. Well, the hair will come back.
I'm
The
gonna
gel,
wear- I
It's
hope it
gonna
does.
come back.
She-
I'm
she
just
does.
waiting for it to
She
get a little
said,
bit
"Sorry,
longer.
Keith, that's exactly what I meant. I'm gonna wear one next week. Well, I won't be here next week. Dang. When I come back to the podcast, I'm wearing.
I
one
want
of
you.
my
Can you
cabbie
wear one
hats.
with like the little ball on the top?
I don't know.
Ooh.
Those
like
are
the golf.
stupid.
You know what I'm
No,
talking
those
about?
are
Yeah.
stupid.
Well,
Like
that
Caddyshack.
is too much.
and wear some plaid shorts with it.
That's different.
How's that different?
That's stupid.
It'll
Put a
look
little
good.
ball in the hat. No.
All right, guys. I think we're ready to be done with this episode.
I think so too. This episode was done a while ago.
It was.
Oh.
As always, guys, if you all want, reach out to us. Email us
Email.
at rmpodcast@redmoonproductions.com. Right there.
Right
in the
where?
bottom of the
What
screen.
is it again?
Oh,
Right
right
here?
there. Wait, Keith,
Is it in
what?
subtitles?
You?
Is it
Oh
there?
my gosh! I popped you up. You were right on
Right
it.
there? Can I tickle it?
It's in subtitle. He didn't laugh. He didn't giggle.
Did
you
it
got to
giggle?
move down to the @ symbol.
I gotta.
Down. Nope. Oh, you just went. You just.
Oh, went
you're
through
right.
it.
You just like God.
He just punctured it.
Just like molested it. Jeez.
Sean, it's on you now.
Huh? Oh, it is. Sorry. RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
That's it, guys. We want to thank you again for joining us like we do every week here on the Red Moon Podcast. Always catch us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Snapchat. Subscribe there. Watch our content. Click the bell icon.
Oh,
that's
forgot
a
about
new
that.
one.
Ring that bell.
That's
Ring
a
it.
new one.
Ring
Click
our
that bell
bell.
icon. And
I like
watch our
people
Great Day Live
so bad at
segments
this.
every week here in the Louisville area
What's
on
that called?
WHAS. It's called Tinseltown Trivia.
Oh, yeah.
Giving you the latest
every
and greatest.
Thursday morning.
Yeah, be sure
Every
to check
Thursday
our,
morning at
check
10
our
a.m.
YouTube channel because
on
we've been
Great Day
uploading
Live.
those too in case you missed them
Absolutely.
on
Yeah,
the news.
they are on YouTube.
If you miss them on there, you can catch them on our YouTube channel. Again, like, share,
YouTube channel.
YouTube
channel.
channel.
the YouTube
Let's just
channel.
stop.
It's
Let's
the,
just stop.
it's
YouTube channel, and we can
it's
ring
the
your
hat.
bell.
Let's play the music.
the
Let's go.
hat is
We're
constricting
done.
my
We're
head.
done here.
All right,
We're
guys. Until next time, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
and
Keith Cheatham.
until next time, we will see you at the movies. Keith didn't say
I
nothing.
didn't say nothing.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.